Are you thinking of buying a new car? Unlike some other places, Consumer Reports will tell you the cars that are good, and we'll tell you the cars to avoid. That list of cars to avoid next on Talking Cars. Hi everybody, and welcome to Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm Tom Muchler.
I'm John Lincove.
And I'm Jake Fisher.
This year we did sort of an extreme makeover to our April Cars issue. We broke it down into segments, telling you what cars were good for certain people. Say you wanted something sporty or something luxurious or something that rode well. Something we also did is we told you within each segment what model to avoid. Now, this got quite a bit of publicity by some places that repurposed it and kind of spun it in a different way. But we thought it's interesting anyway to go through the models that if you're buying a new car, we really don't think you should buy these. So it's a pretty long list. I'm going to get started. First off, we're not big fans of little city cars. You know, stuff like the Smart 4.2 or the Scion IQ or the Chevy Spark. Why is that, Jake?
Because they're really small and they're kind of built to save you a lot of money, and they really don't. First of all, they're not that much cheaper than actual real cars like a Hyundai Elantra or something. Also, the fuel economy they're getting isn't really all that great either. So, I mean, these are city cars that are made for maybe streets in Europe or something where I can't really get my big Elantra through the streets, but you know what, here it's not really such an issue. I don't need a Scion IQ to get down the street. In fact, it's pretty scary when you're driving down a highway in this little kind of clown car. They don't really make a whole lot of sense. I mean, if you really, you look at them, some of them start kind of cheap. You're really better off getting a certified used car or just a late model used car if that's all you can afford. It's a whole lot more car for your money.
John?
Yeah, add in premium fuel for the smart car, so you're spending that money.
At least the smart car does get you good fuel economy.
It gets you good fuel economy, but the driving experience is awful. You're only fitting 2 people. It's a herky-jerky transmission. You're driving like this. I don't even know if they have a dealer network anymore. I mean,
yeah, it kind of evaporated.
They seem to be evaporating. You talk about the size of them. Yeah, in Europe it would be great. Driving in Manhattan in a Scion IQ, deadly. I mean, between the livery cabs, the livery SUVs, the people in their SUVs, the delivery trucks, I wouldn't want to be in that thing. I'd rather be in an SRX or something a hell of a lot bigger.
I mean, driving in Manhattan's a bit of a death sport. It's blood sport. It's just kind of crazy.
DC, Boston.
I could see this in San Francisco. I could see it where you have a little
Google
tiny
buses
car.
everywhere.
There you go. Just work.
But it is. We've moved where SUV is the urban vehicle. Even if it's an escape, it's still bigger than that. A bunch of escapes, as far as I can see, you don't have the visibility, and you sort of have the teet little horn, you're screwed.
We did have a comment on YouTube that would very much disagree with you.
Of course.
Here we go. From Tesla Fit. The smart car is one of the funnest cars you can drive. The electric drive is just incredible. Super quick, spokes many cars, so much damn fun. 6,200 miles on mine. Funny how CR talked bad about the Smart, calling it one of the worst cars. I'll have you know that the Smart was my very first car. And have you guys been driving smart cars 50 plus miles every day for 2 years? No? Well, do you really think you have a valid opinion on the car? Yeah, nope.
Okay, so the smart cars we tested, I drove from our Yonkers facility into Manhattan, around Manhattan, up into Connecticut, and then out to our test track. It was the scariest trips that I've ever taken. Driving on the highway, you're blown around by SUVs, let alone semis. Very nice. People like their cars. People are passionate about their cars. Totally get it. He should drive more vehicles.
Did you say the word electric?
He did mention the word electric.
So just to be clear, the one we tested was not an electric one, and electric drivetrains are kind of quick and snappy and actually make cars better. And
it gets rid of the horrible transmission.
That's kind of the biggest problem with that smart car, is that the transmission just doesn't work. Let's quite be frank about it.
Yeah.
But there are bad cars in other categories too.
There certainly are, yeah. Moving up a class, small sedans. There's a lot of good small compact sedans. There's a lot of modern stuff. But ironically, one of the oldest cars in that segment, the Mitsubishi Lancer, made our list, as well as one of the newest, the Dodge Dart.
Yeah, the Lancers just kind of also ran long ago. One of the two should have been dropped. Cheap interior, noisy engine. It's just not much to it, except that Mitsubishi plays in that subprime market, and that means it's one of the few options for many people buying a new car. The Dodge Dart, it'd be interesting to see what our orange one does, our test car now. The past one, just bulky transmissions. Engine's not mated well to the transmission. The first generation were uncomfortable seats. Those are a little better. There's just better cars out there. It's snug.
So I'm just gonna pick up one thing that you just said. better cars out there. And this is why this list that we did, where we're looking at different segments and saying, avoid this car in this segment. So we're not saying that the Dodge Dart or whatever is the worst car you could get. We're saying, though, if you're looking at a compact sedan or you're looking at something in a segment, there's so many good choices there.
Why do you have to suffer with that?
Why would you get that one over some of the really good competition?
Yeah, I mean, the Dart, we bought it 2014. As we've said in earlier podcasts, they did improve it. It's still not,
It's not up to the competition.
No, it just
That's
isn't.
what it's not.
Because, the volume engine's a 2.4 liter. It's not that refined. It's not that efficient. I feel a bit bad for the Dart. I mean, it has promise. It rides well. It handles well. It was supposed to be, Chrysler's first real good small car in a long time. I mean, they have temporary layoffs at the factory because it's just not selling to expectations. I mean, it's not a horrible car. It's not a Trabant. But,
it's not a horrible car, and it's also a big step from where they've come. I mean, we've been here long enough that we drove Dodge Neons, and this thing is an eon better than a Neon. Did I say that?
It's no SRT Neon. That's a different.
That's a very different beast. Also talking about some rather old in the tooth Chrysler products. In the midsize sedans, you should really skip the old Chrysler 200 in the Dodge Avenger.
Yes, this is old Chrysler, and they're going to be quickly replacing those models. Thank goodness, they're just not competitive at all. You could get them cheap, and you might.
Which is probably why they don't sell that many Darts, because you walk in there, and if you're not really fussy, I can get a bigger Avenger for the price of a Dart.
For pretty much the same price. Yeah, I was actually recently in a Dodge dealer, and I saw that. But the Dart is a better car than that, and you will still see the Chrysler 200. You'll see those in when you're renting a car. Unfortunately, if you aren't quick and grab the Ultima that's sitting there.
Yeah, don't get on a delayed flight and get in late.
No, and then you
the
wind up
day.
with that car. And I just got to crack up because someone actually took our list and they ran with it, and I think it was on a TV spot, and they're like, okay, roll the footage of the Chrysler 200, and they showed the new
one?
redesigned
Oh,
2015,
no.
And it's like, no, we're not talking about it because it got
Fact checking.
That car looks pretty good, and we haven't driven it yet, but it's
That car will definitely be better than this.
yes.
Guaranteed, I think without driving it, I'm willing to say it will be.
Putting ourselves on a limb there. I think we'll say that.
It will be better than these. Moving up, if you want to get a bigger sedan, there's a good number of good large sedans out there. The Impala, the Chrysler 300, but you really shouldn't get a Ford Taurus. What's up with the Taurus?
Just in an ergonomic sense. It's a very small trunk opening, for example. Huge trunk, small trunk opening. Rear seats, snug, such a big car.
It's a big car with a tiny
giant
interior.
car with a tiny interior. They did a disappearing trick. Ford
magic.
Ford Magic waved over it and they took out all the interior. And and then it's not exciting to drive, not particularly enjoyable. You're stuck with my Ford Touch. So look, Chrysler 300. Has its own little compromise issues, I think, of visibility, but far roomier, far more comfortable, far better tech up front. Just in the sense of two very similar sedans, let alone going to Kia Cadenza, letting go to anything else in that class.
Yeah. Got anything?
Well, you said it. I mean, the big thing about that, you see all these little small cars that have like the really big inside and they're small. It's a Honda Fit or Nissan Cuba, whatever it is, and this is the opposite. And it's a big car, exterior-wise. If you're shopping car by a tape measure and how long it is and how wide it is.
Most size for the money.
But I mean, most family sedans are roomier inside.
Yeah, I remember going when we first saw that, and everyone was fawning, how great it is, it's amazing. We said, oh, but the rear seat's tiny. I was like, oh, you're crazy. Now, if you look at all the reports, if someone does a test of a Ford Taurus, they're quick to say, like, well, I don't know how it's so small and such. And it's just like, get over the newness of it and actually look critically at it, which is what we did. And we've said all along since the day it was launched, it's tiny inside. What the heck went on?
Yeah, where did it all go? I mean, you can make this same, moving on to electric cars, you can make the same complaint pretty much about the Lincoln MKS. I think what really, because the Lincoln MKS is on our list as well as the BMW 7 Series, the Lexus IS. We'll talk about those in a bit. But I mean, again, the MKS, man, if you spent $50,000 on a Lincoln MKS, I feel really bad for you. It just, dynamically, it's very, very plain.
I mean, it's very much very similar to a Taurus. It's got more capacitive switches, so it makes the my Ford Touch just one more step where it's even harder to change radio stations or whatever.
Size, more suck.
That should be the logo. Lincoln MKS.
Worst
Same
marketing
size,
man ever.
more suck.
Yeah. It's just it's a forgettable sedan, forgettable luxury sedan.
They depreciate like stones too. And an MKZ is a much better car and probably has as much, if not more, room inside.
Yep.
Another luxury car with no room inside is the Lexus IS. And I mean, this is in an already small, look, the compact sedans aren't big, but man, this thing.
So the Lexus IS, I mean, this is the one. Again, you're looking at other reviews of the IS, and we came out and said, yeah, it's not so good. And there was a lot of reviews out there saying this car is really good, and because they were looking at the ISF or the IS350, the ones with the big engines and the high performance and the rear drive
press
one.
cars.
And we went out, and I'm cracking up here because some like motor blog or something and said, those weenies at Consumer Reports, they went out and bought the IS250 all-wheel drive, which is the weenie car. I'm like, you know what? 85% of their sales are the all-wheel drive 250.
They're the 250 all-wheel
It's not
drive,
because Jake decides that's the one that I want to buy. He also said that I don't have a car myself, but I have 2 race cars, but I drive the press cars. Anyway, I digress. So it's all good, forgiven. But the point is that we bought the car that everyone buys. It's the all-wheel drive 250. It's got a gutless motor that uses lots of fuel. It's no room inside. And you know what? It's fine. You want to have a sporty car with no room inside? That's fine. Be sporty. It's not sporty. It gives you that bad ride. It gives you not sporty driving.
The hump underneath your legs with the
all-wheel
all-wheel
drive.
drive.
And it's Southern California when they do the high-performance rear-wheel drive ones, but you know what? Most of the ones they sell, they're all-wheel drive. And you get this hump under your leg because they designed this car for a Japanese market. So they're like, oh, forget about the passenger side. And there's this hump. It's like an F car from the 80s.
Yep.
So
As long as it doesn't get a crack in the roof.
Well,
the back of the,
we'll see.
I think it'd be a little more durable than that.
But
Yeah,
really
we've-
disappointing. And the point is, again, is that you avoid it. You know why? Because there's great cars in that segment.
There's a lot better cars out
Why would
there.
you get that? And it's not like this is like the penalty box forever. It's not like you're better off buying a smart car off of it. The point is that in that segment, well, it's debatable. The electric one has some advantages.
Sportier.
I hear the electric one's a lot of fun.
I heard. There was like somebody who wrote us about it. But yeah, why would you get that when there's such great cars in that segment?
I mean, and Lexus is leasing, they're leasing these for cheap, but you can lease a BMW 3 Series for cheap. I'm going to move on because, man, we've
Got a lot.
I think, and it's about the 3rd episode we've blasted Lexus IS.
Especially me.
Especially John. The BMW 7 Series made the list. And I mean, that surprised a lot of people because, again, the people who recast the list as the worst cars you can get, there's no way that a BMW 7 Series is one of the worst cars you can buy.
And it's not.
And they're right.
It's one of the worst cars you could buy if you're spending $100,000 on a car.
Yep.
Stand behind that.
And that's the thing, damn it, if you're going to spend $100,000 on a car, you better get a really pretty nice car.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's nice, but it's just.
You could do a little bit better.
It's
lost
old
everything.
school Buick and it's tuning.
It's lost everything that 2 generations ago, pre-iDrive 7 Series. My God, that car was was it.
That car was it.
And it's gone so far away from what a 7 Series has been. A8 trumps it. The new S-Class kicks it into the corner.
Oh,
Totally.
gosh.
Totally right.
And even in that category, you know what? At that
Jaguar-
money,
a
I'd buy a
Jaguar-
Tesla over it.
Yeah, a Jaguar XJ.
Oh, Jaguar XJ.
I mean, again,
Anything else?
Shows its monocle and snooty rear to it.
and I mean, we're not being jaded here. It's saying, look, if you spend that much, if you spend that kind of money, get yourself something really good. And this just isn't as good as the other cars. Moving on, the Honda Crosstour. Mm-hmm. We've talked about the Crosstour before, that it's sort of this jack of all trades that is really not good at anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a shame that we can't have a Accord wagon. That would be nice. Mm-hmm. But they said, okay, you want an Accord wagon? Well, we'll make it not so much a wagon. So, okay, fine. It's kind of a sloping back. And, it wouldn't be bad if it was just like a hatchback. Mm-hmm. But no, it's got a hatchback with no rear vision. It's all-wheel drive-ized. It's Outback-ized. So the
steering's really not close.
The steering is not connected, which is
the screens.
It's got all the screens
that's
and
just
all
a
the
negative to start.
So it just.
It also has the shock towers coming in so much that it really you keeps it from being a useful vehicle.
It's good for putting in suitcases. It's bad for putting in boxes or
bicycles or something like
or
that.
anything
bicycles,
larger than that.
Yeah.
Outback. You said Outback-eyes it. Buy an Outback. That's again the whole thing. Better cars in the category.
Yep.
Super Outback.
Right. Go get a 6-cylinder Outback. Moving on to SUVs. Again, old Chrysler products. Chrysler's been working for years to kind of clean out the dead, basically. And a lot of that older stuff still makes this list. I mean, the Jeep Patriot and Jeep Compass. You know, again, there are so many small SUVs out there, and then there's these, and they're still just hanging around, and they'll disappear soon for the Renegade, and which
we'll leave that
as John said in the last episode, he's not so sure about.
Yeah, I think it's a little weird looking. I think it sullies the Jeep brand, but we're not, you know. But it doesn't sully the Jeep brand as much as the Jeep Patriot does, or the Compass. I mean, you know, they may be okay off road, but they're just, you know, they're you could see that they're like product planning. We need to hit fuel economy, and this segment looks well, so we'll throw this together. And it doesn't seem like a fully big product.
I mean, it was developed during the Mercedes years when they just starved them for money and development.
And the SUVification of everything.
Yeah, and it showed. It wasn't great. But something that's much newer is the Mitsubishi Outlander.
Yeah, Mitsubishi, they're really on
They're doing great.
tear these days. Yeah, I mean, we've never seen it, but I mean, we see Mitsubishi just each time coming out with, moving the bar each time with new product.
Lower.
And unfortunately the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just really disappointing new product.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and just virtually every way. Well, the air conditioning works well, but
That's right, Gabe.
Gabe liked the air conditioning.
And until the Rogue came out, it was the only 3-row SUV in the segment.
That's right. So for 2.5 months, it was the only.
It was the only one, and so it could be the best-selling 3-row small SUV.
Yeah.
Then they had to recall those ads. Erase that.
But you've got a great segment, you know, small SUVs. I mean, that is the family car today. You've got great options out there with the Forester, with the CR-V, with others, and it's just not competitive in virtually any way.
No, it just really isn't. Something else that was kind of a letdown, and probably one of the more controversial cars on this list, is the brand new Jeep Cherokee with the 2.4 liter. We talk about this a lot in the office.
We do. Well, you know, first of all, it's interesting because we talk about the 4-cylinder. It's really disappointing, and I've driven that 4-cylinder at length, and it's got an engine and transmission that don't communicate at all, which is problematic. You know, and then you look at it from a logical standpoint. I mean, it just is not, again, competitive in that very competitive market. When you go to the V6, it does help out some of the V6 and transmission issues. You know, still, it is not, you know, it's not giving you great fuel economy. It's not giving you great performance. It is giving you a Jeep image. If you want to drive something that's a little bit different, right? I mean, you know,
1941, slam it on.
well, you know what? I mean, it's the interesting things. You look at people who buy luxury cars. You know what I mean? We could go to test luxury cars, and we could put them in and compare, you know, a lot of them and throw them in the family sedan category and say, you know what? They're not that competitive, but they are giving you something for it. And with the Jeep, you know, it does give you,
Style.
It gives you style. It gives you a lot of features. You have the 8.4 screen. You have a lot of things. But when you really come down to what it does as a small SUV, it's not competitive with the best.
Yeah, it doesn't do it as well. And then when you start loading it up, you get to the V6, and then you start putting the niceties, then it gets really expensive. And so you have poor fuel economy. You're spending a lot of money for the car.
Right.
Even if you get some money off of it, you know, you're in a long lease, perhaps a lease or a long monthly payment, you know, situation. You know, it's a lot of car in content that's available, but it's also a lot of price. And you know what? You can get a lot of that lower. You can get a better vehicle. And some proven vehicles too. You know, it's a first generation. So.
Well, that's true. But and once you go in that V6, I mean, you're up in what, RDX territory, really.
Yeah, you're around at least 32, 33 to get a leather one. I mean, it gets real close to what an RDX would cost. Yeah, the V6 is okay. You know, not the greatest car, but yeah, the 4-cylinder is just really kind of sad and overpriced.
Avoid that one.
Yeah, avoid the 4-cylinder. If you have to get a Cherokee, get the V6. And plenty of people are buying Cherokees, there's no question about it. But if you get one, get the 6. Moving up a little
Certainly
bit.
a lot better than the Patriot and the Compass.
That's right. Moving up a bit to mid-sized SUV, the Ford Edge.
You know, another, you know, it's a little.
Which is a big seller, but.
Big seller, you know, I see fewer and fewer, I think, on the road. I think you see a lot in rental fleets.
It's getting to the point where I could just buy I could buy a Forester and basically get the room of an Edge.
You know, for me, the big thing with the Edge is that it's kind of dated inside, and that you have my Ford Touch, which is problematic. I mean, my wife and I actually looked at one a number of years ago. We ended up buying an MDX. Well, we were looking at a number of things, and she saw.
Did you break down in front of the Ford dealer? Why did you?
No, she actually had a rental, and she was intrigued by it. You know, and we were looking at an SUV, but even back when we bought our 2011 MDX, it was old looking, old feeling. It was loud.
And that was right after an update.
Right. So, it hasn't gotten any better in 3 years. So there's, again, just better. It's not an awful vehicle. It'll probably take you for a 3-year lease or whatever. You'll be okay with it. And you might be a little maddened by resets of my Ford Touch. But, there's just better vehicles out there.
Again, we're saying avoid it. We're not saying this is one of the worst vehicles that ever made. But if you're in that very, very competitive market, and when you're looking at an edge, you can consider some of the better off small SUVs that do those things. You're looking at some of the, you look at something like a Hyundai Santa Fe.
That's exactly.
Again, it's going to kick this ass. You know. So you look at why would you get that when you could get so many better things?
Yep. Same thing goes for the Nissan Armada, which I don't know if anyone knows it still exists. I mean, it is, I believe, the most expensive car ownership-wise in our survey because of gas and massive, crazy depreciation.
Well, and crazy depreciation, also reliability issues. This is really interesting. A lot of people, for better or worse, are still looking at, I buy a Japanese car, I'm going to get good reliability. Well, Nissan Armada has proved time and time again that's not the case.
Right.
That is a car you want to avoid because it has a lot of problems with it.
They've just had problems with that line throughout. It's been, very up and down, but mostly down. With that. They even
the Titan and the Armada have been.
Right. They took the Infinity off of that platform when they redesigned the QX80. I think it's QX80.
It's some number.
It went to the
QX120.
Yeah.
QX Pi.
So yeah, I heard a lot of horror stories about them when they were starting with that line, let alone now.
Yeah. Also, a car that's hung around longer than Methuselah, the Volvo XC90, which is just old.
Another one that, when I was looking at 3-row SUV, considered, and we were actually testing one, so I was like, well, I could maybe get the test car. Just awful infotainment integration, awful third row seat use, to have to pull the seats forward to pull them out from under to pop them up. So if you're going to use those, narrow, just kind of half baked. Because it's old. Because it's so
I think it's
old.
overbaked.
Yeah, well, true.
Yeah,
fair enough.
And I think the new one, we're sort of seeing bits and pieces of the new one with CarPlay. That will be one of the first implementations of Apple's CarPlay. Volvo's going to go to all turbocharged 4-cylinders. Hopefully they'll get some weight out.
You also said the cars tend to be kind of heavy and solid.
The new styling's very nice. Yeah. Let's hope. Let's hope the new one's a whole lot better.
We went MDX over a Volvo XC90. I mean, right there, better vehicle.
Yeah. There's also the Land Rover Range Rover Evoque. Which is cute.
From the outside.
And it's a Land Rover. But it's got a big sunroof.
It's better than LR2.
Well, it was the first.
I kind of like the LR2.
It's better than the LR2. I'm with you on that one. But it was what's interesting about that car is it's got great visibility if you're looking up straight up at trees because it's got that glass roof. But if you want to look anywhere around you, which is kind of odd because Land Rover was kind of like
Land Rover generally has terrific visibility.
Right. They're usually the one the dashboard's down here and you could go look because you're going through.
You feel like English royalty. Hello, citizens.
Hello,
everyone.
All right. Enough of that. So, but this is a car that you can't see out of. Honestly, monocle down. But I mean, there's no glass. There's no glass down here.
But it's more than that. It also, it's a whole big thing that it's sporty, but the steering's crazy. The steering's weird.
It looks sporty from the outside. You got to give them that.
No, it does look sporty.
There you go.
Steering's just not that.
But it's not. It's scary how it foretold what all the Land Rovers are going to be pinched at the back. You saw that, and now you look at the Sport, and you're like, oh wow.
I mean, I don't know. Like you said, it looks great.
Yeah,
look good.
There's 2 cars on the list that we didn't publish on the list. They're parked behind us. That Gabe wanted on the list. That we just didn't get on the list in the magazine. But Gabe's out testing. So the good for Gabe.
I just heard the tire squeal. Did you hear that?
Gabe saw they were in the room and he had to leave.
Is Gabe okay? Go see if he's okay.
I'm sure Gabe's okay. There's the Acura RLX, which is just a really non-competitive car in this segment.
This would be a fine midsize sedan.
It would be a fine $39,000. It would be an okay $39,000.
Maybe 33. But I mean, for $39,000, you could get yourself a pimped out Impala, and it's better. It's a whole lot better.
Yeah.
It is.
Both front wheel drive.
There's also the
right.
You're not gaining anything by getting it. Before at least you could have all wheel drive. Now it's front drive. With the super 4-wheel steering, which
it would be nice if the RLX was as nice as the Impala. That would be
It would
improvement.
be. No, that's a real good point. There's also the Fiat 500L, which just
it's cute.
It's cute.
It's roomy.
Sort of roomy.
There's room for fish because it kind of looks like a fishbowl.
Yeah, it just doesn't drive well. Just
Drives like a fishbowl.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Like you said, I think Milan. It would look great in Milan.
It would be nice.
A family of 7.
But yeah, it doesn't drive well. I mean, it looks neat. It's roomy inside. It's just the driving experience is just really unimpressive. And there are vehicles that give you room and are cute and drive well.
yeah,
I mean,
you're 25 grand in a Kia Soul.
yeah,
is,
absolutely.
goes-
Much better
goes-
value in it. It's nicer to drive.
It has a darn good infotainment system as well. So you're not like you can't say, oh, well, it has the Uconnect. Like, no, you know what? The Soul's infotainment's great.
Yep.
Yep, that's right. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We'd love to hear your comments. Obviously, we probably touched on some nerves, especially if you happen to own one of the cars on this list. But John says he's sorry. Yeah, I blame you, Gabe. You're not Gabe, you're Jay.
It's all right.
I'm not used to this. So anyway, feel free to leave us comments. Feel free to get a hold of us by Twitter. Until then, we'll see you next time.